Good morning. Welcome to day 5 of your 4th week in your morning summit journey. Today we have a special challenge for you. And it's a challenge that you're going to need both God and your rope team to accomplish. Paul tells us in the New Testament to throw off the sin that so easily entangles us and to run our race with endurance. And during Paul's time, the Olympics were a big deal, and the athletes would race naked. Now, they didn't have spandex like we do, and what they normally wore were these big flowing robes and togas. And for a runner to win the race, he would have to throw off his toga. Because if he was running, it would start to come untangled and he'd be holding it and it would trip him up. And Paul is talking to a group of people who, if they haven't been to the races, they know about the races. And he's saying, sin is like a toga that's wrapped all around you, and it promises to keep you safe, to protect you from the elements, to hide your sin, your shame and your guilt. But we're not called to sit in the audience wearing our togas looking good. We're called to run the race. And sometimes when you're running a race, you don't look too good. You ever seen someone jogging and how they're just grimacing and they look like they're in pain? Or maybe someone's running and they just don't look beautiful. They don't have that beautifully gliding athletic grace. They're just kind of plodding along. And God says, you get out there and run that race. Don't worry about how you look. Run. And Paul says we have to throw off the sin that so easily entangles us. So throw the toga off. And today's challenge is asking you to go to God. And in your moment of silence and stillness with your eyes closed, say, God, what are the avenues of evil into my heart? What is my sinful toga? And listen for that answer. It might be something on your social media. It might be an app. It might be a friend at work. It might be something you're putting into your body. It might be something you're watching. I was talking to one of my students, and we had a conversation similar to this, and later they came back to me and said, you know what, God answered that prayer, and God told me to stop watching horror movies. Because when I watch them alone at night, I get so scared. And oh my goodness, I'm not a prophet, okay? But I said, that was God's voice. I know God told you to stop watching horror movies. I know that those are avenues of evil that bring fear into your heart. See, God did not give you a spirit of fear, but a spirit of courage and power and discipline. So what are the avenues that God is asking you to cut off? What are your horror movies that you need to say, you know what, I don't want to have that in my life anymore? So the first part of the challenge is to ask God for that avenue. What is it? And then the second part is to go to your rope team and talk to them about what God told you to do and ask for their help in keeping you accountable to doing that. So if God tells you to stop watching horror movies, be like, hey guys, I don't want to watch horror movies anymore. It's letting fear into my heart. So anytime you can ask if I watched a horror movie. And maybe you can even make it fun and say, if I have, I owe you a lunch. Or I got to drop and do 50 push-ups no matter where I am because I don't want to do that embarrassing thing. You can have fun with it. But God wants to see you run because He created you to run the race of righteousness. And that avenue of evil, that toga of sin, it's keeping you from your destiny. It's time to take it off. To shut it off, to step onto the racetrack and run. Because friend, God is faithful and He loves you very much. No matter what happens, God's got this. God bless.